The boys were playing soccer in the middle of the dirt road when one of them spotted a pink piñata in front of a nearby house that resembled something between a horse and a goat. As kids, they didn't think anything of it and thought they were lucky to find some candy or maybe even money inside of it. Yet one of the boys, Will, felt like something was off about it and didn't approach it. His friend, Ken, on the other hand, ran over to it. But when he got within a few feet of it, he froze. He called out to Will, yelling that he couldn't move before he couldn't even talk a few seconds later. Frightened, Will took a step back, unwilling to even help his friend. The piñata started walking towards Ken, its cartoonish eyes analyzing him as it approached. Will knew he should have ran, but yet he was too afraid to move. That piñata then headbutted Ken in the stomach, over and over and over again, thrashing into him. Will could faintly hear Ken's bones cracking, yet his expression remained completely frozen in fear. Then, candy spurted out from Ken's body. Hundreds of pieces littered the ground as the demonic toy turned its eyes towards Will. He ran away and never looked back. No body was ever found. Hello everybody, I'm TheRubber. Today, we bring you a SCP Foundation Euclid Class Object SCP-956. SCP-956, also known as Childbreaker, appears to be an extremely colorful piñata resembling a four-legged animal that is a cross between various species. However, after initial testing, 956 is anything but a papier-mâché toy meant to be broken. Foundation researchers determined that 956 was actually composed of glue, fur from an unknown creature, and most disturbingly, human tissue. Contrary to its appearance, 956 is completely immune to any type of blunt force trauma and crushing. Regardless of the amount of weight or force behind it, 956's physical integrity will not falter, and in some cases, it has managed to damage the vices used in attempts to crush it. 956 appears to only be in a docile state, waiting, until children under the age of 12 get within around 15 feet of it. Upon reaching the range of activation for 956, the child will become unable to move after around 7 to 28 seconds, becoming paralyzed in the last stance that they held. While this does not kill the victim, they cannot move or speak, but are able to see and feel, as suggested by incredibly fearful and rapid eye movements. After a few more seconds, 956 will then begin to inflict sudden and incredible blunt force trauma on its victim, directed at their torsos until they break in half or are opened up. Once they are, candy of an unknown kind will burst out from inside the victims, ranging from 23 to 1,323 pieces. These pieces of candy are thus designated as SCP-956-1. If the victim is somehow managed to be moved approximately 36 feet away from 956 successfully, they will be spared from being cracked open. Unfortunately, they will still be frozen in place, and no victims have ever been recorded as recovering from that state. These victims usually die rather shortly after this occurs, due to severe dehydration of the body and their organs. When Foundation researchers examined the corpses of such victims, they saw that due to the intense dehydration, the bodies became brittle, like that of a piñata. Furthermore, due to this research, the Foundation was able to determine where the human tissue came from in relation to 956. Pieces of human tissue were seen to be halfway converted into pieces of the unknown candy from inside the organs of its victims. The longer they stayed within the range of 956, the more conversion of tissue to candy took place. Anyone over the age of 12 who consumed 956-1 underwent seizures in mere minutes, and a small percentage suffered from heart attacks. Around only a third of those survived the ordeal. On the other hand, if a child under the age of 12 consumes the candy, they will stand up straight with their arms stretched outward, and the following will occur in the following sequence. First, they experience rapid hair loss. Then, papier-mâché will sprout from the skin. And finally, an extremely painful restructuring of their bone and muscles. After an agonizing 9 minutes, the transformation will be completed, and the victim will then have become another instance of 956. None have survived the transformation, nor has anyone have had the transformation prevented once 956-1 has been consumed by a child under 12. Outside of testing, 956 has begun showing capabilities of locomotion, as observed in a security feed which shown that 956 was wandering around its cell, tracing the perimeter of the room. It did this for about an hour before staring at a spot on the wall. Review of the footage has shown that it was facing this wall after returning to docile state during previous tests. Dr. N, the researcher responsible for 956, realized a horrifying implication. After reviewing the footage, he ordered his assistant to keep watching over the live feed of 956's containment. "Keep your eyes on that thing. If it moves, call me immediately." He ejected the recording tape and hurried towards the site director's office. "Hello and good morning, sir. Forgive the lack of formality, but please allow me to get right to the point with 956. I believe, and with good reason, that the Piñata should have its safe classification removed and have it be replaced with Euclid." The site director interrupted in the middle of his tea, said bewilderedly, "I would have preferred that you knock before entering next time, but for now, speak." "I think it's best that you see for yourself, sir." He handed the tape and the site director played it on his computer. "So it moves and stares at the wall. What about it?" Dr. N cleared his throat. "Sir, directly east of our current site is an elementary school. It was only about a few kilometers away. It sensed its victims and it's aiming for those kids." The site director pondered for a moment and then made a swift decision. All right. Access granted to change SCP-956's classification from safe to Euclid effective immediately. Thank you, sir. As a preventative measure, 956 will be transferred to another site that is far enough from any school or playground. It was a precaution which relieved Dr. N greatly. Good call, sir. If my boy is still studying there and falls victim to that creepy thing, Dr. N said with a forced smile on his face. What happened to your boy, if you don't mind me asking? He went missing months ago. Was playing with his best friend when it happened. Both kids went missing on the same day. Would you like to see his picture? He wasn't really interested, but he thought it would provide Dr. N some comfort, so he said yes. He shuddered when he saw the picture. His name is Will, the one on the left. He would be turning 12 in another 2 months. My condolences, Doctor. A few weeks later, after 956 was transferred to another site, no other incident has happened similarly so far. Regardless of its state of inactivity, researchers have begun routinely reviewing footage to determine if it will move and for what reason. Dr. N requested to meet the site director in his office one day. He walked into the office and threw down a folder on his desk. The site director flipped through the folder mindlessly. What's all this? A child under the age of 12 consumes the candy, they will stand up straight with their arms stretched outward, and the following will occur in the following sequence. First, they experience rapid hair loss. Then, papier-mâché will sprout from the skin. And finally, an extremely painful restructuring of their bone and muscles. Yeah? What about it? How the hell do we know about this? What did we do that allowed us to find out the effect of those candies on a child? The site director took off his glasses, sighed, and rubbed at his temple. Answer me! And I thought you'd never find out. It was a few years ago when we heard about the Piñata and went out to recover it. We got to the scene, but it was already too late for the other kid. Poor boy was killed by that damn Piñata. We found your boy crying beside his friend. We took him back along with the SCP and the body of his friend. We detained Will for a few days for observation and would apply amnestic before sending him back. On the day of his release, he was sitting in the waiting room while procedures were underway. He was left alone there, and for some reason, some idiot who worked there had the funny idea of having a bowl full of those cursed candies on the desk. Any child wouldn't think twice to pluck one out without supervision, and he did. At this point, the doctor was already sobbing. When we're back to the room, he was already contorting on the floor. It was the last stage before he turned. There was nothing we could have done. I'm sorry. Dr. N broke down. He took out the picture of his son and mourned at the desk. The thought of Will turning into a predatory piñata was too much for him to bear. The doctor's son was gone, left only the memories of him in his mind and the report of an anomaly acquired from his tragic death. In today's world, children have become bored of cartoons, puppets, costumes, and even the once groundbreaking computer-generated graphics. They've seen it all. They know it's all fake. Children nowadays want more. But what is the next step in the entertainment industry? Think outside the box. We're not talking about puppets or any of those materials children know are fake. We humans inherently need to associate with living, breathing creatures, not puppets or moving pictures. We're talking about real characters. Our goal is to provide children with characters that are alive, characters that will teach them how to manage their emotions and solve life problems realistically. You can't get more real than that. Proclaimed proudly on the brochure, displaying a picture of a young child crying at the presence of a poorly constructed puppet. Another picture depicts the same child smiling and clapping his hands at a brightly colored bird mascot. However, reality is often disappointing. Hello everybody, I'm TheRubber. Today, we bring you SCP Foundation Euclid Class Object SCP-3325. SCP-3325, also known as Live Entertainment, is an abandoned facility associated with Real Characters Industries. The key areas of the facility include a recording studio located on the ground floor and multiple laboratories, research facilities, as well as containment areas below ground level. Within the containment areas house instances of SCP-3325-1, of which are biologically engineered organisms resembling puppets or costumed characters. Although initially designed with the intention of being featured in children's television programs, they turned out to be hostile and aggressive towards humans and other unrelated organisms. Instances of 3325-1 lack the ability to feel pain, which enables them to relentlessly pursue a target even if severely injured. However, these entities can be terminated with conventional firearms. They are carnivorous with no preferences for the source of meat. As the intelligence of 3325-1 varies, with the extent unknown, their behaviors are mostly unpredictable. Some instances in containment were observed to either stare at personnel for long periods, while some would randomly exhibit heightened aggression. Instances are able to vocalize certain distorted phrases at random intervals. 3325 first came to the attention of the Foundation when local authorities received a transmission from an unidentified individual requesting help. The facility was subsequently located and a team was sent to investigate. A team of 3 agents knocked on the door. Looks like no one's home. We go in? On me? It was dead silent. All personnel in the facility were discovered to be either killed or missing. Security room. Let's see if we can find anything here. Found something, boss. Looks like a videotape. Also looks like someone tried to scrub all the footage and data, but left one behind. It's corrupted though. Grab everything. We can restore the file back in base. This is strange. Most of the rooms are almost empty, and no fingerprints at all. Too clean. Some were killed, and some are missing from the staff records. Looks like these poor souls were killed to cover up tracks. Someone's hiding something. Shh! Hear that? It's coming from below. Something's down there. The agents froze for a moment. Faint sounds of shuffling and what sounded like distorted singing could be heard. Jude gestured the team to follow him. After flights of stairs, they found themselves in an underground laboratory. There, underdeveloped specimens of 3325-1 contained in tubular glass containers were found. What the hell are these things? What were they trying to do here? The singing was getting closer. They moved past the tubes and into the containment areas, where they discovered instances of 3325-1 being housed within pens and cages and bullet-resistant chambers. Look at this. God, some of them are feasting on animal carcasses. The source of the distorted song, a 16-foot-tall bipedal reptilian puppet-like organism wandering around aimlessly. The agents quickly took cover behind the crates. What do we do, boss? That's like a few of these things here. We can take them. Juno, get ready to throw a stun grenade. Following Jude's command, Juno pulled the pin and threw a stun grenade over the crates. The grenade went off, followed by a series of yelps and shrieks. The distorted singing was cut short by a pained scream. The team popped up behind cover with their rifles drawn. All of the instances were down. Think that's all of them. Wait, hold on. They could hear more movements behind the walls, but weren't sure where exactly the noises were coming from. Sounds like they're coming from the vents. We're low on ammunition. This is not a fight we can take. We'll come back later with a full squad. For now, tag the bodies and move out. They injected trackers into the entities and retreated through the same way they entered. Later, the Foundation sent a fully armed MTF squad back to the facility to capture the tagged entities, though some were eliminated during conflict. Here's the tape we recovered from the facility. Something's written on the box. We shouldn't have played God. They played the tape recording. It was a live taping of a children's show with an instance of 3325-1 present on set with the crew. All right, demo scene 1. Ready? Action. Hello, Mr. Beaky. What brings you... Whoa, whoa, whoa. What's it doing? Ow! The costumed entity moved clumsily towards the host and bit her arm. Its jaw held onto her arm with increasing pressure as she struggled and screamed for help. The man in a lab coat rushed forward and began beating the entity with a baton. Hey, let go! Let go! Security! Security! Hey, I told you to turn that off! The footage ended with the man forcefully pushing the camera away as a security team entered the room. Jesus, were they trying to create some sort of, I don't know, children mascot? Engineered to perfection solely for the purpose of children's entertainment? You've seen the flyers. The person behind the company is a madman. Guy has trouble separating entertainment from reality. How's the digital footage coming along? Tech team just finished restoring the file. Looks like a video with multiple footage stitched together. Here. The footage began with 2 researchers observing an instance of 3325-1 in containment. The instance appeared to be a disfigured version of the one shown in the live taping, with missing skin, exposed organs, and additional limbs. Subject 200 is extremely hostile. Someone's gonna be in big trouble if another subject attacks an actor. The director was seriously pissed, saying we can't have that happening again. We'll be ruined if children get traumatized after seeing their favorite characters going all haywire in front of them. Then the video cut abruptly, but remained at the same scene. But this time, the instance was chained up and struggling. The escaped subjects were caught, some killed. They tricked the guards watching them. They played dead so the guards would go in to retrieve their carcasses for incineration. That's when they struck. Now we have a guy dead and another half dead with severe injuries. These things are dangerous. They are not suitable for any children's show, not unless we can control them. The footage cut once more, this time, however, showing a man hiding in a narrow space. They've rounded up the researchers. I slipped away and called for help. This was no accident. This breach was planned. All subjects were released at once. I don't know how much time I have left. I should have seen it sooner. More and more researchers were disappearing. They knew too much, and I'm next. Listen, you can't let them do this. There were these people over at the facility, guys in suits. The subjects were ignoring them. This is a conspiracy. All those times they came over, I think they were discussing. Then footsteps were audible, and suddenly a door was forced open. Hey, that's the guy who sent us the call. No, please, don't! A loud gunshot went off, and the researcher dropped dead with his face falling in front of the camera. His eyes stared at the men blankly through the screen. That's all of them. Dispose of him along with the others. Let's get what we came here for and get out. The bastard called someone, so we don't have much time. Move. The video ended there. They could hear the distorted singing coming faintly from the containment cell. It didn't sound so unsettling anymore. To them, this time, it was a song filled with sadness and a cry for help. What kid hasn't wanted to own a Pokemon at some point? How amazing would it be to watch a Poke battle between a Charizard and a Blastoise? But maybe things like that, the unbelievable, should remain just that, fantasies. As kids, we don't really understand the real-world ramifications of our youthful dreams. I, for one, was unfortunate enough to have that dark reality shoved into my face. Allow me to explain. My brother and I were 13, and were going crazy over the new Pokemon Diamond and Pearl game. Well, I wasn't as enthusiastic about it as he was. Sure, I played the game often late into the night, but my brother, Jace, went full throttle into the fandom by this point. He bought shirts, pajamas, and little trinkets of his favorite Pokemon, Piplup. You know, that little water penguin-looking thing? Anyway, it didn't matter where he was. He'd have something with a Piplup on it, and wasn't embarrassed or ashamed at all to let everyone know it. I admit it was a little cringe to see my brother like this, but he wasn't hurting anyone. He wasn't. Eventually, my brother started to complain about his arms hurting, that they were getting stiff, that his fingers would get stuck together for some reason. He often complained of headaches as well, that he could feel his skull shift around. I wrongly assumed his body was stiff and sore from just playing games too long, as well as severe eye strain from looking at his screen from dawn to dusk. If only that were the case. Instead, I had to watch my brother transform into a grotesque abomination. Jace stopped attending school, citing he was feeling extremely sick, yet refused to be taken to the hospital. And despite our parents' efforts, they couldn't pull him out of his room, literally. It was like he had gotten stronger, far stronger than a kid of his age should be, with how easy he pushed our dad away. Locked in his room, I could hear him complain about his hands and feet, and something that began to protrude from his face. Eventually, he stopped talking and stopped coming out. I mustered up the courage to finally check on him and found him laying on his bed covered by a blanket. Upon removing his covers, I gasped in shock and was repulsed by the nasty scent that wafted up to my nose. He was dead. Or rather, what used to be my brother was dead. His favorite Piplup hoodie had merged with his flesh, creating some bulbous, bluish-looking penguin thing with a beak made of bone. His fingers had merged together and slightly resembled flippers. Jace's poor feet were now bent at awkward angles like they were trying to become talons. Amidst the remains of my brother, there was a slip of paper with a single crooked sentence written on it. My dream is nothing but a nightmare. Hello everybody, I'm TheRubber. Today, we bring you SCP Foundation Keter Class Object SCP-5254. 5254, also known as Gotta Catch 'em All, refers to the transformation process of a human or object into one of the 980 Pokemon created by Nintendo. Through unknown anomalous means, any person or object is transformed through prolonged exposure to any clothing or accessories that resemble a Pokemon. This process is documented as being extremely painful, and most humans are unable to survive the process. Foundation autopsy reports show that organs and flesh of the deceased have been converted into plastics or cotton. In other words, the material that made up the Pokemon memorabilia replaces the infected person's flesh. Later tests have also shown that an unknown DNA has been found within the deceased. This DNA not only replaces the victim's DNA, but it is speculated to be the DNA of the Pokemon as well. After further research, it has been discovered that these transformations occur if the victim slightly resembles the Pokemon in question, and if the victim in question is near a large number of individuals wearing said Pokemon garb. Discovered rather recently by the Foundation in 2019 in Yokohama, Japan, at the Pikachu Outbreak Festival, 5254 publicly began with a victim behaving erratically while wearing a Pikachu costume. Publicly redacted videos showed a large number of individuals parading down the street in Pikachu costumes. One of them stumbled out of the crowd and charged into a nearby crowd. Nearly a dozen others followed suit shortly after. Foundation MTF Wranglers were mobilized to not only locate these victims, but to terminate them as well for research. Interestingly enough, those harmed in the attack reported electrical burns. Over the course of 2017 to 2018, a series of emails between one Sir Viper and high-level executives from Nintendo, Pokemon Company, and Niantic caught the Foundation's attention. These emails insinuated the plan to bring Pokemons to life, as well as to use them in various purposes such as military firepower, quite literally using Charizard, and potential clean energy using Pikachu. And most disturbingly, kidnapping of children from orphanages under an outreach program for the purposes of running tests. After this, all communications with Sir Viper ceased, and the O5 Council ordered a raid on the Pokemon Company offices on June 16, 2019. This was done in fear of a potential K-Class scenario. The members from MTF Epsilon 11 were chosen for the raid. The men were gathered by the team leader in the room for a briefing. Alright boys, the darndest thing just happened. Remember them Pokemons you played with when you were little? They just got real. People are turning into them. We're gonna find out why. Now, we've notified the Japanese government about this op. The target is the Pokemon Company offices in Tokyo. No disrespect, Cap, but I simply can't take this seriously. A Pokemon raid? Really? What's the plan? Human lives are involved in this case. Keep that in mind and maybe you'll realize the gravity of the situation. We'll be split into squads. Your team will be on crowd control duty while we do our thing. We move quickly, and we're gonna hit that place hard and fast. Understood? Yes, sir. All right, grab your gear. We move out in 5. The team arrived at the location via chopper. The men touched down on the roof of the Pokemon Company offices. Multiple MTF squads disembarked, quickly covering the area. Fox 3, status report. Fox 3 and a different squad had blended into the crowd in the lower levels where a Pokemon exhibition was going on. Civilian evacuation in the lower levels in progress. There's a huge Pokemon Center on the first floor that's still filled with tourists. Quarantine for infection. Then rendezvous at coordinates. Roger. All right, you heard the man. Get those Poke fanatics out of there. All right, team, on me. The MTF agent stacked up against the fire exit on the roof, and the door opened easily. They descended down the fire exit steps and reached a set of double steel doors on the lower level. Silently, Fox 1 gestured Fox 2 to prep some smoke grenades in a flashbang as he breached the doors. All the canisters are tossed in, and just as they were about to storm in, there was a huge mechanic clunk from the other end of the hall, followed by the sound of heavy, thudding footsteps. Hold on. Shh. Hear that? The men watched the corridor in anticipation. A low growl, followed by a roar. A 2 meters tall creature emerged from the smoke. Orange skin, elongated snout, and 2 vast wings flapped with power to blow away the smoke. It then roared again straight at the men as they froze. Holy crap! Is that freaking Charizard? Engage! Engage! The dragon-like creature immediately spewed streams of fire, setting some of the men aflame. Get cover! Get cover! But keep the pressure on. What's the plan here, boss? Shoot it till it's dead. And eventually, the team filled the creature with bullet holes, and it was brought down. Its fallen carcass lay slumped over in the middle of the hallway, bleeding from its wounds. Christ, never thought I'd see the day where I gunned down my favorite Pokemon. Clear. Proceed to lower levels. The MTF passed more and more hallways. Pokemon posters lined the walls with slogans like "Prepare for trouble" and "Make it double," with the occasional person in a white coat detained as they emerged from a doorway. Makes you wonder what kind of messed up stuff they've been hiding down here. Quiet, eyes up front. They arrived at another steel door. They stacked up, and this time, Fox 1 gestured for explosives. Breach and clear. Weapons free. Shoot anything that walks funny. They set the charge and took cover behind a turn in the corridor. The doors flew wide open as the explosives went off. Screams echoed within the room as the MTF entered and scanned for targets through the smoke. As the smoke cleared, they could see the room was brightly lit and filled with colorful drawings, toys scattered on the floor, and rows of metal cages set against the walls, housing abominations that shocked the team. Good God. The creatures within the cages were at various stages of 5254 transformation. However, most of them can be seen were transformed from children. These kids. Wait, does this mean the Charizard we killed before was… Yeah, looks like it. I'm sorry. Fox 2 stumbled back and vomited in disgust as the children afflicted with 5254 cried. Jesus. Fox 10, think we found the kids. Requesting immediate medical pickups. Copy. Any sign of Sir Viper? Negative. Only his handiwork. We're seizing electronic serves as evidence. Copy. Over. Over. Christ. Think I've seen enough for a day. I remember when I was a kid. I loved Pokemon. Loved it. Every game, every cartoon, figurines, I'd collect them all. Hell, I even have a sticker album that I keep in my drawers at home. I've always wished that I live in the Pokemon world, seeing and playing with these fantastic beings. Well, you don't have to wish for it any longer. It has become a reality. Your wish has come true. I used to think being around them would be so much fun, but now I'm not so sure anymore. In order to mitigate the effects of 5254, embedded Foundation personnel in the Pokemon Company worked to suppress the popularity of Pokemon. This was done by causing outrage of Pokemon Sword and Shield by releasing it with limited Pokemons, as well as preventing large-scale Pokemon-themed events. Despite the Foundation's efforts, Sir Viper has yet to be apprehended,